Iranian President, that's Vice President Massoumeh Ebtekir, has become the latest high-profile figure in the country to be infected with the coronavirus. Ms. Ebtekir, who is President Hassan Rouhani's deputy and advisor on family and women's matters, has been placed on a quarantine. The chairman of the Iranian Parliament's National Security and Foreign Policy Committee, as well as the deputy health minister, have also tested positive. Iran's health ministry says the country now has 245 confirmed cases in total, 26 of which have resulted in fatality, the highest number of deaths outside China. Well, for more on the coronavirus and other happenings across the globe, let's join Simon Pusey in our London studio for Around the World in 5.
Hello and good evening from the Channel studio here in London with your international news around the world in 5. Saudi Arabia has banned foreigners from entering the country for pilgrimages, as well as tourists from countries where the coronavirus has spread. The ban comes less than 60 days before the Muslim holy month of Ramadan, the second busiest period where millions of pilgrims visit Mecca. These pictures showing pilgrims in Mecca in August last year. It comes at a time when the Saudi Arabian government has been giving a big push to the tourism sector by liberating visa rules to attract more visitors. It's after the virus has spread fast in neighbouring Iran, so far claiming the lives of at least 22 people with over 140 infected. There are now more than 400 confirmed cases in Italy, which has seen a 25% daily increase. The governor of the Italian region of Lombardy, Attilio Fontana, has said in this video posted on Facebook that he will go into quarantine over the next 2 weeks after an aide tested positive for the virus. And in the US, President Trump has appointed his Vice President Mike Pence to coordinate the government response to the outbreak. He told a White House news conference that the risk to the American people remained very low, despite 60 cases so far being reported in America.
I'm going to be putting our Vice President Mike Pence in charge, and Mike will be working with the professionals, doctors, and everybody else that's working. The team is brilliant. I spent a lot of time with the team over the last couple of weeks, but they're totally brilliant, and we're doing really well, and Mike is going to be in charge, and Mike will report back to me.
A judge who was critical of violence in Delhi has been transferred from his post, raising concerns in India that politicians aren't condemning the attacks. Justice S. Muralidhar, who was hearing a petition into the religious riots, had sharply condemned both the government and police on Wednesday. Orders for his immediate transfer came late at night the same day. More than 30 people have been killed so far in the deadliest violence the Indian capital has seen in decades. The clashes first broke out on Sunday between protesters for and against a controversial citizenship law in northeast Delhi. More than 60 people have been hurt, many of them riot police in clashes with protesters on Lesbos and Chios over plans to build new migrant camps. Stones were hurled at police as protests intensified at 3 Lesbos sites where the centres are to be built. The Greek Prime Minister has called for calm and is due to meet the regional governor and local mayors to discuss the crisis. Authorities in Athens have pledged to build new centres to replace overcrowded facilities on Lesbos, Samos, Chios, Leros and Kos. The government plans to bring down the number of migrants on the islands from 42,000 to 20,000. All 5 islands lie off the coast of Turkey, on a route where hundreds of thousands of migrants have tried to cross the sea on the way to Europe in recent years. 5 people have been killed in a shooting at the Molson Coors Brewing Company campus in Milwaukee in Wisconsin state. They say the gunman died from self-inflicted wounds. The attacker was identified as a 51-year-old Milwaukee resident. His motives were unclear. The shooting occurred in the early afternoon while hundreds of employees were still at work. Milwaukee Mayor Tom Barrett said it was a tragic day for the city. Speaking at a news briefing shortly after Wednesday's shooting, he described it as a horrific act. The UK has warned the EU it will walk away from trade talks in June unless there is a broad outline of a deal. Michael Gove told MPs the UK wanted to strike a comprehensive free trade agreement in 10 months, but the government would not accept any alignment with EU laws, as the EU is demanding.
We will not accept nor agree to any obligations where our laws are aligned with the EU or the EU's institutions, including the Court of Justice. Instead, each party will respect the other's independence and the right to manage its own borders, immigration policy and taxes.
Around 70 homes and businesses in East Yorkshire in the UK have been flooded as water levels continue to rise after the River Aire burst its banks. Over 60 homes were evacuated in the towns of East Cowick and Snaith. Yorkshire Council said 160 properties in Snaith and nearby villages were at risk. Council workers and emergency services distribute sandbags to prevent further damage to properties. And finally, Egypt has built a multi-billion-pound furniture city near the mouth of the Nile, a pilot for a series of industry mega-hubs it wants to throw up across the nation, but it could face a struggle to populate it. The sprawling industrial park, inaugurated in December, is 10 kilometres outside the port city of Damietta. The aim of the $230 million project and the other planned specialised parks is to boost economic growth and create jobs badly needed in a country where about a third of the 100 million people live in poverty. And that's your international news around the world in 5. Now back to the studios in Nigeria.
Thank you, Simon. Let's now find out what's happening in the world of sports. Here's Ayotunde Balogun.
Thanks, Millicent. The Enugu State Governor Ifeanyi Ugwuanyi has lit the unity torch for the state sporting championships with athletes drawn from the 17 local government areas of the state ahead of the National Sports Festival scheduled for March 2020 in Edo State. The unity torch was presented to the governor by Zonal Coordinator Team Enugu Jane Owo at Government House in Enugu. The governor promised to continue to support and develop sports in the state and asked those taking part in the National Sports Festival to put up a good performance during the event.
The objective of the National Sports Festival, such as national development, unity and discovery of sportsmen and women have been tremendously achieved as many successful Nigerian sportsmen and women owe their debut to this festival. Enugu State has impacted positively the lives of our teeming youths through the participation in every edition of the National Sports Festival, as well as other national and international sports competitions.
In the UEFA Europa League, Wolves have secured passage to the round of 16 despite losing a 3-2 to Spanish side Espanyol, but qualify 6-3 on aggregate. Bayer Leverkusen also advanced, beating Porto to qualify 5-2 on aggregate. AS Roma also advanced at the expense of Ghent after both sides played a 1-1 draw, but the Italians qualified 2-1 on aggregate. Nigerian forward Odion Igalo was on the score sheet at Old Trafford as Man United beat Club Brugge, advancing 6-1 on aggregate. Elsewhere, AFC Ajax of Amsterdam beat Getafe 2-1 to advance on aggregate. That's sports news. I'm Ayotunde Balogun. It's back to you, Millicent.
Thank you, Ayo. And the main news again. The federal government today raised an alarm that Boko Haram and ISWAP insurgents have changed tactics and are now targeting Christians in order to spark a religious war. Also today, the police in Katsina State killed 17 bandits in the course of repelling an attack on Gurbi village in Kankara local government area. Plus, the World Health Organization today warned that coronavirus outbreak has reached a decisive point and has pandemic potential, even as an Iranian vice president tested positive. Well, that's news at 10 tonight. Many thanks for watching. I'm Millicent Walker. Have a good night.